Using baking soda instead of salt, safe and affordable. Stir well so the baking soda fully dissolves. Anode sacrificial metal, it will collect the rust. Negative goes to the part, positive goes to the sacrificial metal. Important, the part must not touch the anode in the solution. Bubbles are hydrogen and oxygen. Work in a ventilated area. The process takes time. Be patient. Higher voltage speeds up the reaction but produces more gas. After electrolysis, the part is covered with a black oxide layer. Works even on heavily rusted tools. Larger parts draw more current during the process. Citric acid helps remove remaining rust and oxide. can see the acid reacting with the surface. Always neutralize acid with a baking soda bath. After soda, dry the parts thoroughly. Final sanding gives a polished look. The scissors cut like new again. Result: thick rust is gone, the metal is preserved. Great way to restore old tools at home.